Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. I'm Reverend Marcus Liefert, and I am so glad to be with you on this blessedly rainy Sunday morning. Yay for rain and yay for being inside out of it. We are celebrating Social Justice Sunday this morning, so glad that so many of you have contributed to turning our social hall into a celebratory, beautiful place for uplifting all of the work that people in our community are doing around acting for social justice. And I hope that you'll have time after the service to stick around and find out more about the groups here that you can get involved with. If there's something on your heart this morning that you'd like known by our gathered community, if you'd like to celebrate or to mourn, to remember, anything that you'd like spoken aloud in our service, you can write it on the memory book at the table in the back. You can also light a candle silently for your own private memory or prayer. We are, as we celebrate social justice, ending this arc we've been having in worship about our theological house that we inherit, talking about each element of the house as a metaphor for some part of our theology. And so as we think about social justice today, we look out the windows that represent our missiology. What's our relationship out to the world? Once more, welcome. Let's rise in body or in spirit and sing together 121, We'll Build a Land. This is a beloved song by many. It's a little bit of a complicated song for some of us too. I'll say more about that later. We'll build a land.
Oh, Buenos dias. I am Smiley, and I am your co-worship associate today. I say co-worship associate because behind the scenes today, Karen Elliott has been the worship associate in my mind. I've been going through the most growthful and the most difficult time of my life. I'm doing 12-step work that I've been putting off for 43 years. And Karen knows that, and she knows I've been harried and frantic in my daily life, so she has done all the background work for the worship associate today. And yes, Karen. And by background work, I mean we put together the audiovisual sheet for those beautiful folks in the back so they know what to do. We put together the order of service. We work with Marcus on all these things. And thank you, Karen. I deeply appreciate you, wherever you are. Thank you. She's held me up, very much so. Now, as we light our chalice to begin our service, we remind ourselves that our church occupies land in Huchiun. It's the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. May we have the humility and the courage to do our part, to restore what has been broken, and the wisdom to live into a new solidarity with indigenous communities and the earth. Let us kindle our chalice flame with these words by civil rights leader and Congressman John Lewis at the 55th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, where he was almost beaten to death. Speak up, speak out, get in the way. Get in good trouble, necessary trouble, and help redeem the soul of America. Please join with me in saying our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. Give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
Good morning. This is by local composer Linda Hirschhorn, and we're so lucky to have our worship associate. Another thing he was doing this week is rehearsing to accompany YCC on this song. We hope you'll join us after the second time through.
For freedom, circle round for peace. For all those in prison, circle for release. Circle for the planet, circle for each soul. For the children of our children, keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace.
First of all, I want to say to the youth choir over there, yeah, that was so beautiful. That made my heart smile so much. Thank you for that. Knocking it out of the park, you guys. And you too, Katie. All right, so A is for activists. Advocate, abolitionist, ally. Actively answering a call to action. Are you an activist? B is for banner, bobbing in the sky, billowing in the breeze because you're not shy. C is for co-op, cooperative cultures, creative, counter to corporate vultures. D is for democracy, more than voting, you'll agree. Dictators detest it, donkeys don't get it, but you and me, we demand equality. Equal rights, black, brown, or white, clean and healthy is a right. Every place we live and play, environmental justice is the way. F is for feminist, for fairness in our play, for freedom to flourish and choose our own way. G is for grassroots, sprouting from below, sharing nutrients and the waters that flow. Below the surface, we are all connected. Stronger together, we grow. H is for healthy food, a human right. Honeydew, jicama, nature's delight. Hummus, hot dogs, Havarti cheese. Hot dogs? Yes, hot dogs, or tofu dogs, please, and pizza. Indigenous and immigrant, together we stand tall. Our histories are relevant. An injury to one is an injury to all. J is for justice, yay for justice. Jia Jang Jang, Juanita, Jamal, justice for the janitors, justice for all. Kings are fine for story time, knights are fun to play. But when we make decisions, we will choose the people's way. LGBTQ, love who you choose, 'cause love is true. Liberate your notions of limited emotions. Celebrate with pride our links of devotion. Megaphones, marching, movimiento, music. Hip hip hooray, it must be May Day. N is for no, 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 no. Yes to what we want and no to what must go. No, no, no. Open minds, open hearts. Operate best. Critical thinking over tests. Wisdom can't be memorized. Educate, agitate, organize. P, peace march. Protest. Pow, power to the people. I couldn't resist. Power to the people. All right. Q is for question, questioning coercion. Querying qualities counter false assertions. Radical Reds, the headline said, ruinous rioters, the rumors spread. Rabble, rousing, riffraff. Protest. Really? S is for sun, sol, solar. Superstar, stellar power. Fuels all life, not just flowers. Energize homes, cars, and showers. T is for trans, for trains, tiaras, tulips, tractors, and tigers too. Trust in the true, the he, the she, the they, that is you. U is for weekends. U is for workers' rights. Wait, that's not U, that's W. U is for union. Union, yes. V is for Vox. What, did you say Fox? No, Vox. Vox. Socks? No, it's Vox. Vox. Vox, the voice of the populi. Better go see the letter D for democracy. Wondrous world, wondrous we. We cannot be whole, we cannot be free unless we delight in diversity. X is for Malcolm, as in Malcolm X. History's lessons can be complex. Remember Parks, remember King, remember Malcolm, and let freedom ring. Y is for you and youth, your planet, your rights, your future, your truth. Y is for yes, yes, yes. And Z is for Zapatista, of course. Blessed be. So, if you are young of spirit or young of heart or just want to, we're going to do Celebration Chapel, first in the fireside room, and then we'll move to the atrium. And so we will all go there together now.
Good morning. A few years ago, when Helen Tinsley Jones asked me to serve on a new social justice committee to be known as Honoring Indigenous Peoples, I jumped at the opportunity. My interest in this topic goes back to growing up on a farm outside Omaha, Nebraska in the 50s and 60s. Two of my girlfriends were of Sioux heritage. The brother of one of them became the spokesperson for the United Indian Tribes' occupation of Alcatraz Island. My dad told me more than once that the white man has nothing to be proud of in his treatment of the Indians. Members of the HIP group have met to learn about the history as well as current issues of concern for Indigenous peoples. As we have expanded our own knowledge and awareness, we have sought to share this information with our congregation and the wider community. HIP has designed and still maintains a blog site, sponsored a talk by Karina Gould of Sagrote Land Trust that resulted in our congregation paying an annual Shumi tax, a summer group study of the book Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and most recently, a Three Sisters garden on land outside the Saphir Room. Our journey on the trail of honoring Indigenous peoples continues. We invite you to join us.
Too much apparatus up here. Good morning. My name is Beth Jurdy, and our sponsored project is assembling blessings bags. What's in here? What's in here? Snacks, socks, water, toiletries, soap. In this compostable bag. This is a metonym for life. To me, social justice is not a siloed strand in life, but how we organize living our life. It shapes our attitude and intentions. It's how we start our day and how we live through it. These days, the line has gotten even finer between being housed and then suddenly becoming unhoused. Last Sunday, after the service, I went to the grocery store. As I was loading my groceries into the car, a guy on a bicycle came up and asked if I had any money. I said, "No, sorry, I don't carry cash." But since we'd had so much pizza here, I went away with a piece, and I asked him, "Would you like to have some pizza?" And he said, "Okay." As we were having this interaction, I wished I'd had one of these blessing bags to give to him. So please join us out in the social hall and put together a blessings bag, and feel free to take 1 or 2 or 3 with you to have in your car when you run into, encounter, or meet someone who would enjoy this. We also have 2 guests here with us today from SOS, Safe Organized Spaces, to answer questions about this. O'Neill and his colleague Layla are out there with O'Neill's daughter Kai. There's also an art-making table next to the assembly line. So if you'd like to write a message to someone, we'll fold it up and tuck it in so that they have a true blessing from you. I want to leave you with a quote from Matthew Desmond, who wrote the book, Evicted, Poverty and Profit in the American Life. Decent, affordable housing should be a basic right for everybody in this country. The reason is simple. Without a stable shelter, everything else falls apart. See you out there.
Hello, I'm Sheila Tarbett, and I just want to tell you about my involvement in climate work and how my understanding has shifted in a really important way. When I first got involved in climate work, I was really motivated by going to national parks and seeing melting glaciers and reading about the 6th extinction we're in that's taken so many of our species close to the brink. I was very concerned about the decline of our iconic pollinators like butterflies and bees and hummingbirds. And I was outraged when I read about microplastics just flowing freely into our drinking waters. But after a couple of years of work on this climate path, I began to learn how our, it's on, okay. I began to learn how our reliance on fossil fuels creates health risks for humans in the here and now. Using fossil fuels, which we're so dependent on, creates airborne particulate matter that is really damaging to human health. This particulate matter in our air is linked to asthma, which is prevalent in children in low-income communities, especially near freeways. It's linked to respiratory and cardiovascular disease, and it affects an issue close to my heart that I had the opportunity to work on, maternal and child health. So women living in communities, often near freeways, that have a high concentration of these particulate matters in the air have more preterm births, lower birth weight babies, and fewer live births. At the time I was involved in this, about 10 years ago, people really didn't know this, but we know it now, and it's really clear that changing our system to a healthier system is not only good for nature, which it is, but it's really critical for human health. And it's important to point out that the risks of these diseases fall heavily on low-income communities of color who often live near freeways or oil extraction sites. So anyway, the summary is that addressing climate change and environmental justice is about preserving our beautiful natural world, but it's also an intersectional issue of human health, health disparities, and of everyone's right to clean air and a healthy environment. And the good news is that there are so many ways to contribute to addressing these crises. And I invite you to stop at the climate justice table afterwards and talk with us, and we can explore ways that we can all work together to address these crises. Thank you.
Julia Rogers. I co-lead the Confronting Racism and Oppression project with Helen Tinsley Jones. And I also co-facilitate WOWs, Working to Overcome White Supremacy, with Julie Winkelstein. WOWS is a group that meets monthly to work on issues of racism in ourselves and our community. Sometimes in WOWS, I get a real sense of why I'm doing the work involved in keeping the group going. Last Sunday was one of those times. Lonnie Mosley presented and led a discussion on how white people trying to practice anti-racism can drive other white people away. The lively discussion ranged from the difference between white people and the system of whiteness, to the challenges of even using the word whiteness, to how to get our message out in a way that people can hear. The presentation was stimulating, and the discussion was thought-provoking. We are so grateful to Lonnie for bringing this material to us. What really got me, though, was the gratitude Lonnie and her husband, Cordell Sloan, expressed for being able to present this, that UUCB has a space, WOWS, to talk about racism and oppression in a deep way. We started WOWS over 5 years ago because of concerns some members of color raised about treatment they'd received at UUCB. It's important to highlight that WOWS is accountable to the People of Color Caucus. To hear my Black sisters and brothers' gratitude and encouragement confirms for me that we're doing work that matters. Their response means the world to me. Please stop by our table as well.
Good morning. Wow. I'm sorry. Bad pun. Our theme, windows, in fact, this period theme of using the structure of a home, a house, to essentially use metaphors to convey this great information. I love a metaphor. The world outside these windows. Well, this idea of using the home actually makes me think of doors. Makes me focus on doors. And doors are what? They're the antidote for separation and division, provided the door is open. That we entered, did I say that my name was Cordell Stone and I'm a member of POC, People of Color, for those who don't know what that stands for, and we have a table out there. So I need to have that in the front of your mind while we talk about this. That we as POC don't exit speaks to how well UUCB holds to its principles and values. It's one thing to come through the door, but to not exit is a message. For me, and for the POC caucus. UUCB is an affirming community. It's an affirming community. We at POCC are not mere fragments of the congregation. We too are at its heart and soul. I feel that our futures are inextricably linked, that we are a community united in purpose. Together we shoulder the responsibilities, uphold shared values, face shared challenges, celebrate cultural diversity, pool our resources, and promote understanding. It's very evident out there today. This congregation provides a platform for all its members to experience and cultivate moral responsibility and actual lived spirituality. While cherishing the genuine relationships we fostered within these walls, we must remember that our mission is to ensure that these walls do not hinder our pursuit of a better world. I'm a fan of humankind. I believe in us. We are spectacular as a species. However, I do worry. Collectively, in our minds, we have much unconsciously operating toxic programming, both historical and new, that is somehow normal in our culture. It imperils us. I hope and pray that humanity decides to make a collective, concerted, systematic effort to surface and purge it. We permit this, though, because we believe that our thinking generally proceeds as it should. We don't question our thinking. We're not questioners of that. And we are protective of our comfort as well. The problems I speak of are uncomfortable to talk about. Until we begin a courageous, committed cleansing, we will remain mired in the swamp of the past conditioning along with the newly emerging thought pollutants. Your mind, like your car or your clothes, needs a good cleaning once in a while. I really need somebody to get on this problem right away and figure it out. So, Marcus, Lorraine, Hillary Lorraine, David Rosales, Linda Lescaus, would you guys get on that, please? The spiritual experience you and I enjoy here, the spiritual experience like this music, is not merely entertainment. And the attention given to our moral selves is not about self-esteem. They both must translate into action. The cultivation of moral responsibility and actual lived spirituality. And while being active, we must strike a balance between urgency and quality of life, ensuring that we are walking our talk in a sustainable way. For the major problems we face, windows are becoming increasingly irrelevant. We won't be shielded from the global challenges like climate change or pandemics. Our path forward requires a collective awakening, a unified focus on knowledge and understanding. We must understand these problems. And it's not enough to speak truth to power. Our churches, plural, must harness and exercise their power. We are not passengers on this global ride. It's time to take the wheel and steer our destiny. And this is what we're engaged in here. This church is about establishing and sustaining quality life for all. Our larger community of churches, of which we are a part, has work to do. Our species possesses the genius to address the challenges within and outside our walls. Let's make sure that we do. In the end, when we're all together and reflect on our journey, wherever that will be, let's ensure that we can look at each other and say, "Well done, my fellow human." That's it. Amen. Stop by our table, meet our POCs.
Let's rise once in body or spirit as we sing once more. That song we began the service with, We'll Build a Land, it was part of the canon of my childhood church, and I loved it, singing it growing up. It was an indigenous leader who pointed out once that while the sentiment is beautiful, she said it also, I can't help but hear in the cadence and the words that echo of manifest destiny, we'll build a land, us people anointed by God on this land that was already someone else's. So I offer my own words for that hymn. Someday I'll ask Carolyn McDade's permission, maybe we'll sing them. I invite you to take a deeper breath. To feel your connection down to this good earth. To embrace this moment of stillness, these words, this silence we'll share as a grounding for all the action we will take in the world. Out from the shadows and ruins of empire, out from the shackles and burden of greed, out in a field beyond right and wrongdoing. Out in that field, we'll plant a new seed. Come out and join with both neighbor and stranger, traveling forth toward the world of our dreams, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Out from illusions of separation, out from delusions of victim and blame, out from the prisons of isolation, out where the Spirit has called us to change. Out of a land that's been beaten and broken, out will come the fruits of resistance, out will come a song of mourning, out will come new love for our home. Come out and join with both neighbor and stranger, traveling forth toward the world of our dreams, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. O God of justice, God of peace, weep with us in our grief over lives and lands torn bloody with war. Shake with us in our anger, let outrage animate us with energy to act. Hold us close in our fear. Be a steadying hand on the shoulder, at the back of the heart, so that we may rest and renew and rise again. And when despair hardens into cynicism, when we find ourselves numb to the pain all around us, remind us this too is how we survive. Help us to stay with ourselves long enough by the running water, beneath the vine and fig tree. Hold before us the vision even when we cannot hold it for ourselves. That everyone beneath a vine and fig tree will live in peace and unafraid. And into plowshares turn their swords. Nations will learn war no more. May we rest in that holy place together. Each week, in this community of care and witness, we lift up those joys and sorrows among us. We lift up Wynn, beautifully held and loved, surrounding the passing of my wife, Cindy. And who today writes, looking for how to be grounded in my body after Cindy's transition out of her body. With Christine Creveling, we offer thoughts as she misses her friend, Judy Kucera, who passed October 11th. I think of her walking with her dog, Penny, somewhere beautiful, breathing easily. Someone writes, as many of us feel, our thoughts and prayers go to all the children and families, to everyone in Israel and Palestine suffering in the Gaza conflict. May the bombing stop and life-giving utilities be restored. With someone else, we remember Jane Eisenstark, an activist and great social justice member. And another member offers finding and searching for ways to stay grounded in myself and my relationship through challenging times. Looking for faith and solace in the unknown. And as we know, joy and woe are woven fine. We celebrate with Marin. Marin's daughter, Susie, is well now. Procedure was a success. And with Kathleen, my son is married. Tristan Baumgardner and Amanda Howard. Exclamation mark, heart, smiley face. Gratitudes for this place to practice our ritual of relationship towards peace and remember our poetic legacies that strive to inspire us. And I want to offer a longer message from beloved member Craig Scott, who sadly couldn't be here today, but offers congratulations to this gathered community on your Social Justice Sunday, celebrating the many successes of UUCB's Social Justice Council. Craig, who was instrumental in its formation and its social justice work here for many years. I wish I could be with you to celebrate on this day, but health concerns keep me from traveling at the moment. I continue to keep track of what the council is doing, and I feel a great deal of pride at its continuing to do such good work in the community. I'm also proud to have worked to create the Social Justice Council, and I remember fondly some of those who worked to build the council in its early days and who are no longer there at UUCB. Nancy Kelly, always just Kelly, Natalie De Silva, Jane Eisenstark, and so many others. We felt that what we were doing was the work of what Dr. King called building the beloved community. And that phrase certainly fits because it most definitely was, and I know continues to be, a community built on love, a transcendent form of love. In the words of Dr. King, this call for a worldwide fellowship that lifts neighborly concerns beyond one's tribe, race, class, and nation is in reality a call for an all-embracing and unconditional love for all of humanity. When I speak of love, I'm not speaking of some sentimental and weak response. I'm speaking of that force which all of the great religions have seen as the supreme unifying principle of life. Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door which leads to ultimate reality. I know that it is the kind of love that Dr. King speaks of that binds you together in your social justice work and that motivates you to continue your work of building the beloved community. Please keep on with your great work. Blessings, Craig. For all that has been named, all that yet remains in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, may we know that whatever we hold here is held in the loving embrace of this community and by that deeper love beyond all naming. That love that cannot, that will not let us go. May it be so, and amen. Will you sing with me? Everyone neath a vine and fig tree. Been a little more glued to the news lately than I like to be. Are you too? And you know, I do that thing where I pull out my phone to do something else, and then before I know it, I'm doom scrolling, I think we call it. Fear and anger and heartbreak and apathy and cynicism and dumbness, and I don't want to deal with it. We need, I think, a bigger story to live in than the headlines, the daily headlines. And that's what this whole arc of worship has been about, this bigger story that we live in together as a religious tradition. And that's also what this question of missiology asks of us. What is the story we are living in as individuals who have to keep living our little lives in relation to the great events of the world? How do we live them in a way that brings justice, that brings healing and purpose to the world? Some religious traditions look out their window and say, our mission, our missiology, it's to convert all of those misguided people. Get them in here in this house where we've got a good structure for them that'll keep them safe. And some religious traditions look out the window and say, it's too scary out there. Keep it all away. Remove ourselves from the world and stay safe inside these walls. And our religious tradition asks something else of us. It asks, like Alice Walker famously said, to make activism the rent that you pay for living on this planet. Our tradition asks us to be engaged with the world, to fall in love with it, even though it breaks our hearts, and because it breaks our hearts, to act to make a difference. I remember when I was first indoctrinated into our missiology, because we do try and convert people sometimes. I'll get to that. But I was first embodying our missiology when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, and you might have seen this story. It was on my website when I was introducing myself to you. I wanted to change the culture in my school about people saying, "That's so gay." Having 2 moms and feeling, I was targeted by this every time someone said it, even if they didn't know. I felt like collapsing in on myself, and I wanted to do something about it because I had a community and a religious tradition that said, you can do something about the pain of the world. And if things aren't right, if things aren't fair, it's your job to do something about it. And so I made a dictionary. I made a 2-page dictionary because as a good Unitarian, I thought if I just educated them all and explained what these words meant, it would solve the problem. So it was, first page was gay, which is, to be happy, or a man who loves another man. The second page, lesbian, somebody from the Isle of Lesbos, or a woman who loves a woman. That was it. It was, 3rd grade level. I was going to bring it around to every room in the school and educate the way out of it. Things only have gotten more complicated from there, of course. And I don't think we're going to educate our way out of the conflict in Israel and Palestine. Although that must be part of it. What I notice is that sometimes I have had as proselytizing an approach to my work in social justice as any evangelical trying to bring somebody into their house of worship. If only I can convince you I'm right. If only I can get you to see it. And I don't think I'm going to be the only one alone here, right? I think as Unitarian Universalists, we fall into this trap. So I've been thinking about how do we hold conviction, which we need to do our justice work, conviction that our values are right and true, firm ground that we stand on, alongside humility. How do we hold conviction that sees more than a complete moral relativism, alongside a humility that lets us build relationship across difference? It's no small task, but when I think of the biggest heroes of social justice work in my world, King or Gandhi or Day, Parks, John Lewis, they held together conviction and humility. We've been having a national conversation, Unitarian Universalists, about the rise of authoritarianism and fascism in our country and in the world, and where do those impulses come from, and how do we operate to overcome them. Cecilia Kingman, my colleague, gave the Berry Street lecture on this topic last June at our General Assembly. If you haven't heard it, it's available online. It's wonderful. But one of the ideas Cecilia talks about is this, that we must, in order to confront fascism, make space in our lives so that our work for justice is grounded in our own spiritual practices that connect us to moral authority, that connect us to that place inside where conviction and humility can live together. And that from that, we can reach across and build relationships across difference, relationships of intimacy and trust across difference, because that's what fascism abhors. That's what keeps us able to resist those forces that would continue to oppress. Yes, the world can be overwhelming with its news. I find solace in that message from the Talmud. You do not have to complete the work. Do not be overwhelmed by the grief of the world. You do not have to complete the work. But neither are you free to abandon it. Amen, and may it be so.
Please join me in finding the right page. We invite you now into the spiritual practice of generosity. Instead of passing the plate, you can give electronically by scanning the QR code on the back of your badge. Or you can put cash in or a check in the donation into the donation envelope that you'll find in the back of the pew in front of you. Write your name on it and mark offering plate or pledge, and then put it into the donation box beside the fountain in the atrium as you leave the service. Each week, half of the offering plate is shared with a nonprofit Good Neighbor organization recommended by our fabulous Social Justice Council. And thank you so much for practicing generosity with UUCB and with our good neighbors, and offerings of any amount are accepted with gratitude. And the good neighbor for this month is GRIP. GRIP stands for Greater Richmond Interfaith Program. It's a multicultural, multi-ethnic coalition of congregations from varied faiths working together as a diverse, inclusive coalition. Its dedicated mission is to provide a safe, nourishing place to help those in our community who are unsheltered and need to transition into self-sufficiency. Thank you so much. Now, if you would, please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
I want to let you know a few things happening in the life of our community, and I'll keep it quick. I know we've kept you sitting a long time now. Thank you for your patience. We're going to go out and celebrate social justice. There's food, there are booths. Please stay, linger, celebrate, enjoy, and be together in a way that we might make more justice roll down like waters. Next Sunday, we're going to have our fall Halloween festival, so plan to stay after the service for that as well if you can. We'll have an intergenerational service, all ages through the whole service. We'll tell a story, do some ritual, remember our beloved dead. So look forward to seeing you there for that next Sunday. Also, next Sunday before the service, come early if you can. We have a really special opportunity. Kevin Fisher-Paulson will be speaking for our personal theology. He's a San Francisco Chronicle columnist. He's wonderful. He has a number of books. He's also a chief deputy with the San Francisco Sheriff's Office, where he has pursued rehabilitation alternatives for almost 30 years. So it should be a really interesting talk if you can make it for that next Sunday at 9:30. And then in 2 weeks, we've got the Lawrence Lecture, or is it even 3 weeks? November 10th, coming right up, the Lawrence Lecture. Matthew Fox is going to come and speak with us. I'm looking forward to helping to welcome him and to have a time for questions and answer. Please, if you can, be there on November 10th. Once more, let's rise in body or in spirit and sing our closing song. It's The Fire of Commitment, 1028.
Sets
Walk humbly now. Love mercy now. Do justice now. You do not have to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. Let's go get into some good trouble. Amen.